Sure. Lurk in the background or review it afterwards. We will talk a bit about the project itself as well, so if you can stick around for a while, perhaps. So, welcome to session 6 of the Work the Web training program. Yeah, it's in a restaurant, in a coffee shop or something. That we work happens where we have internet connection, stable or not stable, it doesn't matter. This is session 6 of the Work the Web um, training program, and today we're going to talk about end-to-end testing or acceptance testing or whatever we want to call it. But we're going to use CypressIO, and I know that a lot of you guys have questions about that, or have heard about Cypress, and hopefully I can help you clarify some stuff. But before we get started with the presentation I have, and then a little bit of coding, let's see if we can get a little bit of an update on where we stand on the project. And just a disclaimer, sorry, I haven't been able to be that super active in this yet. I'm a bit swamped with a lot of work, but this weekend looks much more promising to me in terms of free time. Pedro, Tassilo, Anya, you guys have been working away, and Pedro, you've been doing some refactoring. Where do we stand? Hmm. Hmm. Uh, and Tassilo, the repository is still closed sourced. We haven't really gone over the code yet. I took a peek at it, um, and as usual, when you look at somebody else's code, you can always have opinions about a lot of things. So don't take. I mean, it's what it is. But I will spend time on that code base again this weekend, and on Saturday and Sunday mornings, I usually stream uh, my own personal stuff. So I will probably work with. I have some work to do on the website one project, but I will also spend time on that one, and be see if I can give you some more feedback. Anya, you've been working or looking at that code as well. Uh, mhm, 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 mhm. I think it's going to be the best solution, which, I mean, good timing that we will cover a little bit of Cyprus today, and try to spin it up on a small project then. Mm. I think it will. I think it will. So we will get that up and running one way or another on that particular project as soon as we can. Um, Hopefully today I can show you that it's not that hard to get started. It's it's not. But anyway, let's. If we don't have anything to add to the project discussion at this point, we should get started. I am on Twitch, so let's try to keep the chat in there if possible, because for the YouTube viewers or the guys who are watching this afterwards, then they can follow along in the discussions if there are any discussions. Let me start. Uh, Introduction to end-to-end testing. And before we just kind of accept that end-to-end is the term that we're going to use, I just want to a quick disclaimer: there's many names, and there's a lot of terminology in this domain of testing, and there are different kinds of tests. Uh, and what we talk about in JavaScript world um, is often end-to-end tests and unit testing, right? Those two tests are the most common ones. And before I started to work in JavaScript a lot, I've never heard about E2e uh, at all. Where I come from, we use the term acceptance tests, and then we also use the term integration tests. Although acceptance tests and integration tests are not really the same thing, in some parts of the software development industry, I would say, but over time they have kind of merged together into this thing, and this expression end-to-end testing has emerged as a very common term that we use about these kind of tests. So, and there is it's not a bad name in any way. Uh, Actually, it's a really good name, I would say, because it kind of uh, reflects what the tests are actually doing. End-to-end tests, and I will talk more about this later, but just to clarify, end-to-end tests are tests that test the entire stack that is a subject of a test, meaning that we test the user interface, click on buttons, open web pages, interact with the web applications in any way possible, and then we just assert that the result of the interaction is something that we can foresee, that we can know beforehand. So, for instance, if I click on a button and send off a form that is properly filled in, it should result in some sort of a feedback from the application, right? So just on a general note, and again I will be talking more about this later, the tests that are written in this particular way, they are not really testing how things are happening. They are just testing that they are actually happening, right? Whereas unit tests, they are actually testing the exact mechanism of how data is being processed and so on. I will touch upon this in just a while. But this is an introduction to E2e testing in general, but in particular using CypressIO. And I would like to put things in a little bit of a perspective. Just by telling you what we will be talking about, we're going to cover more the idea of acceptance tests and the difference between these tests and unit testing. I'm going to talk a little bit about the unit tests with Mocha and Chai and acceptance tests with Cypress. And then I will do a quick demo on how to set up Cypress in a project. And hopefully you will be as amazed as I was first time I did it on how simple it is to set up Cypress. Unless you are using a Windows subsystem to run Linux, because then you spend 2 days on it to get it to work. I think Anya know what I'm talking about. I think you spent at least 2 days on setting it up. But in general, it should be very easy. Thank you, Bill Gates. Anyway, right. So let me just. I need to move my camera a little bit here. Where's my camera? There it is. So if I do this, if I do this, if I do this, and move it up here perhaps today, we can do that on Twitch. Yeah, we can do that. Right. So there are many testing frameworks out there. Okay, quite a lot actually. You have Jest, Mocha, Chai. They are the good ones. Then you have all the frameworks like Jasmine, Karma, and so on. A lot of people talk, of course, about Selenium. Some people are mentioning Puppeteer. I do, because I like it for some use cases, and so on. But generally speaking, historically speaking, testing of JavaScript applications have been really hard to do. It was for many years an underdeveloped domain. people were not doing it. It was hard to do it. People were discouraged. New developers were looking at testing as a enormous obstacle that was hindering them in development rather than supporting the process. It was more configuration than convention, meaning that you had to tweak everything to fit your project, and there was like a configuration hell that you needed to enter if you wanted to integrate testing into your project. And there was a lot of unreliable results, meaning that the tests were simply not to be trusted, and you just couldn't know whether the test covered the behavior or the functionality that you wanted to test. And perhaps I'm perhaps I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I know from own experience that it was really tough to test JavaScript-based applications for many years. And to make things even worse, it was really hard to integrate these testing frameworks with services like continuous integration and continuous deployment, which for me are really important if you want to automate the entire process of software development, focus on development and writing implementation code, but then being able to build pipelines to push code from development stage to production servers without having to do a lot of manual tasks. For that, continuous integration and continuous deployment is really important. We will cover these techniques later on in this training program because it's a very important skill for all developers, especially for those who want to work professionally. And those testing frameworks didn't play well with CI and CD, and that sucked big time. So then we have to ask ourselves, of course, why do we test? We covered a lot of this in the previous talk about automated tests that we had the other day. But of course, we want to find bugs. We want to take a step back, don't rush into just writing implementation code, but we have to have a specification, have a plan, and for that we can use tests to stimulate our critical thinking and planning. We want to be able to cover edge cases when users are not behaving the way we want them to behave. I usually say that the life of a software developer would be so easy if there were no users. Then we wouldn't have to build all the error handlers and the stuff that kick in when people are sending in badly formatted emails when they want to sign up for our accounts and shit like that, right? Languages, time zones, the edge cases when people are using integers instead of letters and yada yada, right? So there's a lot of stuff that tests help us with, but most importantly, it gives us stability and security and can increase our confidence when we write new code, when we improve code, and as we said before, when we add features to our existing code bases, we want to make sure that we don't break anything, that the code still works, and that can be achieved with tests, and that can be achieved with end-to-end tests. More than it can be achieved with unit testing. But again, unit tests are very low-level tests, and they can work. They can tell you if the function is actually returning the data that you wish it to return, but it doesn't tell you if it plays well with every other function around it. For that, integration tests or acceptance tests are better suited. Now, acceptance tests, they do help you in making sure that your application does what it's supposed to do when a user interacts with it. It took me a while to boil it down into this sentence, but this is exactly what it does. It can do more or less, and other stuff, but at the end of the day, what you want to make sure is that your application actually does what it is supposed to do, every part of that application. And the good thing with acceptance tests is that they actually require fairly limited knowledge about the implementation itself. And what do I mean by that? Well, you see, the way we talk to our or interact with our applications are through the interface, right? When you visit Facebook or your online banking, let's take online banking because these systems are usually fairly complicated. You have to click on some stuff, you have to fill in numbers, date for when you want to make some transactions. Then you click a button and there's a lot of stuff happening underneath the hood. Like there's security issues, you have to authenticate, you have to do a lot of stuff before the bank actually releases your funds. And at the end of the process, when the funds are done or whatever you wanted to do is okayed by the bank, you get some sort of a feedback. We accepted that transaction, it will be performed tomorrow or what have you, right? So when you write a test like this, to test that functionality, you tell the test to interact with the interface, to fill in a form, to do this, and that, as if you were a user. And then the only thing you care about is the outcome. That it actually says yes, your transaction will be performed. You don't really care what's going on underneath the hood. It's not your concern. And for that, you don't have to know much about what's going on underneath the hood. Now, the problem is, of course, that these kind of tests are not 100% reliable because you can, in principle, fake it. You can just output that and so on, right? That everything is okay. So, acceptance tests, per definition, cannot make up your entire testing suite. You need to be able to write quite a lot of unit tests and so on. But they are an integrated and a very integrated part of the testing strategy and a very useful tool in your tool belt. So testing individual functions or classes to make sure that they work as they are intended, that's unit testing. Testing the whole application, acceptance tests or end-to-end tests. And so what is Cypress? Well, Cypress comes with an interface that is also a good addition to your tool belt because it comes with a visual interface, of which this is an example. Is this a video? No, it's not a video. It was just a screenshot of a video. So Cypress came about a few years ago. It's actually it's right now in version 8. It was released just a day or 2 days ago. It's an end-to-end testing framework, or it was in the beginning. There is some development that shows that this framework is broadening its game field or play field a little bit. But the good thing is that it works on any type of front-end framework or website. It's not just bound to React or Vue or anything else. It's widely spread in the React ecosystem, but you can use it on any type of development or developer framework or library or a website or what have you. The tests itself are written in JavaScript, and it's all in one framework, which means that you have a runner, you have a scripting language for tests, you have a set of DSL commands, domain language commands, and you have assertions built in, and it is a useful tool when you work with BDD and TDD in your development process. It is extremely solid. It doesn't give you false positives. It F's up a few times here and there, so it could be, as every other tool, a bit frustrating sometimes. It has a lot of powerful features. Well-written documentation, very important for all of us, which is something that perhaps sounds like a natural thing. It should always, everything should come with good documentation. Let me tell you that Karma and Jasmine didn't, and it's a very easy tool to configure and set up, which is also something we like. And it looks something like this. This is actually a screenshot taken today from a project that we work on. The footer is a little left up still, but we are working with a community project for the Kensington and Chelsea Social Council, where we are building a website to search for social services in that particular part of London. And we are driving this development with Cypress tests mainly. We're using React for that and so on. So in this case, we get a very nice and visual output, which helps us to not only test for the functionality, but also look, get a sense of how the website will look for the end user, because this one is using Chrome to showcase or to display the website, right? So this is a screenshot of the runner, and you can also run this in an Electron browser if you want, but Chrome is the most widely used one. But if you want to use this without a browser, that is also possible. You can run all of these tests in your terminal, which speeds up the testing suite a lot, because then you don't have that graphical interface that consumes memory, and this also makes it possible to run these tests on continuous integration or other services that you do not control. That they are not hosted on your local host, and they do not come with a graphical interface, so you can run them remotely. There are some other fantastic features like video recordings of your tests. You can get a very detailed error output if there are some errors and stuff like that. So it's a really nice one. Whoops. The tests, you've seen a little bit of testing before. The tests are written in JavaScript with a syntax that is very similar to Mocha and Chai, and also if you think about the few tests you wrote in RSpec when we did the FizzBuzz kata, we have our describe blocks, we have our before blocks, it blocks, and all of that stuff. So they have normalized this syntax and reused a lot of the good stuff from other testing frameworks. We don't use the expect syntax that much. You can use it in Cypress if you like it, but as you can see here on line 13 to 15, the assertion on line 14 is using the should notation, right? So instead of expect, we write should. And for those of you who have worked a little bit with Mocha and Chai, you can probably recognize the assertion in the should function where we say have length. That's a Chai assertion. So Cypress is actually using both Mocha and Chai underneath the hood to execute tests and assert. So everything you can do with Chai, you can do with Cypress, and everything you can do with Mocha is also doable in Cypress. So if you look at line 14 here, that's a pretty neat test in my opinion. You assert that the an element on in the DOM that has a data CY tag on it called search results has two children, right? It's not as verbose or as English-like as many tests would look like in RSpec or even in Mocha Chai, depending on how you write them. But it's pretty easy to understand. You say CY get this search results, and then you look at children and you say should have length 2. And what does that mean? Well, if you look at the before block, we are visiting a specific URL, that's line 8, and we are interacting with the query input field on line 9, where we say data CY search query, and then we say type football, and then we find our submit button and click on it, right? So that is the That is the interaction that the user does. He searches for football, and then uh, you just make sure that the length, the amount of answers is 2. And how do we know that it's 2? And that's the interesting part, because if you look at line 5 through 7, we are using a CY intercept method. So we are intercepting every network call that this application makes to a specific URL that in this case contains the words API and search, and then tell Cypress that if the application tries to make a call to that URL, do not make that call, pretend that you did, and respond with a specific JSON object, right? So we know beforehand what the application will return, what the API call will return, and therefore we can beforehand know that there will be 2 results of that particular search for football. Do you understand? So we don't care so much of how we do that. The only thing we know that this particular application will make a network call to a search engine, and that search engine will return something, but we want to intercept that call and tell the app what it will know beforehand. That's a very basic concept, and again we are using those describe block messages so that they are fairly descriptive. Here we say visitor can search for local services by entering a valid search term, and that is expected to return a result based on this query. Pedro, go ahead. Mm? Yes. 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 And to that you can also say, but Thomas, isn't this weird, right? Why would you right? But so this is a good, so this discussion, let's see, should we take it now? Now, where I come from, when I learned about testing initially, then I was taught that uh, the code itself, the implementation code, shouldn't be shouldn't know that it's being tested. Do you understand? Like the fact that we are testing shouldn't implement or shouldn't have any bearing on the way the code is written, right? Yeah, exactly. And this is something that I was initially like, that's nonsense. This is not the way we should do this. This data CY thing is well described in the Cypress documentation. This is the preferred way to do things, the best way, right? And they do have a point, because what is the alternative? The alternative is that we set IDs on everything, right? Uh, or we can use an actual selector. We could say, find me an H1 that contains this, or find me, let's say that find me a button that contains word submit. Okay, now that's perfectly fine. But what they claim, the guys that set up the best practices, is that the word submit can change. Do you understand? When you for instance translate the user interface or something like that. So the strings that we use in our code base are subject to change. Whereas if you use this data CY or like a data attribute and have that as a habit to always add that, that is unlikely to change. And this, it's not used for anything uh, else but testing. IDs, they can be still used for CSSing. They can be used for any other things, and they can also be subject to change. Um, I am not 100% on board with that personally. I do use data CI, and I think that's what I teach my students, and that's what I do in many projects. But I am not fully convinced that this is the best way to do that, because it does couple my code to Cypress as a testing framework. Uh, you not by default, but you could write a script to go through all, like when you compile your code, you could make sure that it's being removed, right? But I usually don't do that because it's so cheap to just keep it around. It doesn't cost me anything in terms of performance, or at least not much. So. Uh, but in principle, you could do that, and I would say that that's actually a very good suggestion, and I will take that with me, because I think I can write a script like that. That when I do a yarn build, just get rid of all of this stuff, basically, right? Who's drinking whiskey? Is that Castras? That's good. Now you got me hungry. That's a cup of tea. Uh, oh, okay. All right. Go ahead, Pedro. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, so 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 this is just an example of a test. I quite often test for the response as well. Yes, like the content of it. Now there is a danger in this, right? Because what if this search result football.json file is not formatted as our API will actually respond with the, yeah. So that's valid. That is the problem. If the developers are not careful and they use JSON responses that are not cleared with the API team, or if they're using an external API without doing a proper research on it, so that you actually know what you will get, then that's a problem. There is a way that is a bit advanced, but still possible to implement. That first time you run your test, you actually record the responses. You make the calls and you record the responses, and then on consequence runs, you just keep on using those fixtures instead. Right. It's actually written to a file. So yeah, you could say it's cached, but it's physically there on your in your file system. Right. We're jumping ahead a little bit. These questions are very relevant, but there is another question about the intercept. Now, what if I ask for a response from an API, and then I want to modify something? They send off a post request, create it, and the next time I will get a new collection back from the API. It contains the new object, right? So you can intercept and then re-intercept, right? You can overwrite that again. But these kind of tests are often, more verbose. They become much longer. Again, this is a very basic example of the thing, right? Um, no, 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 no. It's. I think these are very relevant questions. Unless people, yeah. No, come on, come on. Anyway, uh, everything we have in Mocha, like describe the context, it blocks, before blocks, all of this stuff is available in Cypress, which is good. They didn't reinvent the wheel; they just made the wheel much better. That's what I can say about this. And if you look at chai assertions, just a few examples here that actually use the expect keyword, so they are totally not relevant. Which you can write this kind of this kind of code here in Cypress as well. Anything you can assert with using chai uh, can be used in Cypress. Um, and the main documentation is on CypressIO. We will take a look at this, but let's see some code. Uh, uh, CypressIO is truly a good a good good site. The web has evolved. Finally, testing us too. Okay, thank you. Where's the docs? There it is. Right. So the docs CypressIO site is really, really good. They do have some testing strategies. They do have guides. They do have an overview of everything that you can come up with, pretty much. And I will actually try to find and send a link to. Let's do it like this. Data CY best practice. Best practice, right? There it is. Again, it's not very, it's not. You don't. We don't have to. We don't have to agree with these people, but like, if you look at this argument, like if you do CI get button click, you should never use that. According to them, because when you use the selector itself, there can be multiple buttons on the page, so you never know what button you're clicking, right? If you use classes, you know, it's not good either, because it is, as they claim, highly subject to change. The risk of them changing is very big. Using IDs, again, they claim it's better, but it is still coupled to styling or JS event listeners. So that can also change over time and should be avoided. You can use other attributes like name, but that can also change over time. Then something that they actually says it could be good that I do not agree with, because I often work with multi-language support on websites. So it says CI contains submit and click on it, but we live in a multi-language world, so you might want to change and translate your website to Portuguese or German or what have you, and therefore you can't use submit and always be certain that it will work. But if you use this data CY, you can be sure that it actually works. Does that make sense, Pedro? Are you shitting me? Oh my god. This is fucking... Well, apparently, Thomas, you didn't forget to put on your own sound, so please stop swearing. Oh my god. Jesus, Thomas does forget this.
In the comments.
Oh, now you are. So say hello to the Twitch public. It's only 1 hour. No, only 38 minutes in. That wasn't so bad. Last time it was an hour and a half, I think. Yes. Okay, good. Let's move on. Yes, we are live now. Okay, good. Thanks. Yay. Decision. Thank you for that. I totally missed that. All right. I really hate when I do things like this. Let's see if we can do some basic testing with Cypress. I can show you how easy it is to set it up. So let's create a small application in what? In JavaScript. Okay, so we can do. There we go. We're just gonna let this person in. Let's create a new folder. I'm gonna make this a little bigger, and I will say mkdir E2e demo, and I will create a subfolder mkdir source just for the sake of it, and I will do yarn init -y to initiate yarn here, and I will say yarn add d Cypress, and I will also add what can I add more? Yeah, of course. No, I'm just gonna add this as a development dependency. Well, actually, I could have done the other one as well. So I'm gonna add a local web server called Superstatic. I think we used it at some point in another demo. Hello, Mirsad. You totally changed your display name. What does it say? Las Casas Filipinas de Alcazur. What does that mean?
Las Casas Filipinas de Azúcar. The Philippine houses of sugar, I'd say.
Did I sign in with wrong? Yeah, I did. 1 second.
That's so awesome. That's a fantastic nick. All right. So Cyprus is a little. It's not big, but it takes a few seconds apparently to load. Perhaps because it is what it is. There's Mirsad back. All right. Hey, now we recognize you.
Yeah, that was for a friend of mine, a client. So yeah, made an app for him. Needed a app developer account. So yeah.
It is what it is, right? Right. So we're talking Cypress and end-to-end testing today. By the way, are you using Cypress, Mirsad?
I'm using Detox.
Oh, you're using Detox for things. Yeah. So Detox is a testing framework that we use for React Native mostly. It's very powerful. It's a pain in the butt sometimes, but when it works really well. I've written quite a few tests with Detox, but it is what it is. That it's a good example. I was telling the crowd that when I used to test with Karma and Jasmine, you could get a few false positives and you can get into a lot of configuration hell in terms of getting everything in place. And Detox is one of those frameworks. Like when I wanted to stub out the geolocation of my iPhone simulator in test environment, that was a bit painful. And some other stuff like interacting with pop-ups and so on could be like giving permissions and stuff like that could be a bit painful. But all in all, it does work really well. And what is it? Airbnb created it, or who created Detox?
Yeah, I think it's Airbnb.
I think Airbnb created Detox, right? Right. And now I'm trying to do a little bit of small talk while my computer is installing Cypress for some damn reason. As I said, they did upgrade to version 8 a few days ago, and since this is a new project, it will install the latest version. Right. So small talk, peeps. Small talk. Say something, please.
Maybe I go fetch me some whiskey.
Exactly. I was
Be
gonna
selfish.
say.
Be selfish and go and get yourself a scotch.
What's
Mike,
happening this weekend?
yeah. What's up for the weekend? All right.
Trying to finish catching up with all the sessions.
How far are you?
I did a marathon last night and the night before, so.
Oh yeah.
I would love to hear Thomas' voice in 2 times.
Yeah, I watch it on 2x.
Exactly.
It's quite amusing.
You should watch it at 0.5. That's even better.
You should watch me, watch him at
Yeah.
2x, and then you 2x me.
It's 4x Thomas.
And then you get 4x Thomas.
And 4x Carl's Chipmunk.
Oh, that would be awesome.
What's going on with the Cypress? I don't like this small talk. Oh, there we go. We're done. No whiskey for you.
Damn it.
let's add super static to this baby as well. Yarn add dash d super static. That should go fast at least. Right.
I believe we didn't use this one. We used super tests, something like that.
Yeah, we
Is
used
that
it.
a
Yes,
thing?
it's super. Was it super test? It was, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
No, we didn't use super static. It's a very small, lightweight web server that you set up. There are hundreds of them. I don't know why I keep using super static, but I do because it spins up really fast. So apart from now it takes forever. Right, and now I can do npx Cypress install. I think. Let's try that. I don't have any notes, or I have too many windows open, so I can't find my notes. So I'm just freebasing this now, people. Okay, no, it is installed already. Okay, so we're gonna do npx Cypress open, and that will. It says it looks like this is your first time using Cypress 8, and he verifies Cypress. Oh, detox is Vix. Yeah. Oh gosh. Vix, right? Yeah, I remember that. I actually have a client. He wants me to build something in Vix for him. Oh my god.
Easy money.
Oh, it is. It is. Right. Anyway, first time when you when you open up Cypress, you get this view, and in your project, the good people of Cypress, they are really concerned about you, understanding how Cypress works. Then they give you a lot of examples. They create a lot of tests that you can run to see Cypress in action. So I'm actually going to run this to-do spec JS by clicking on it, and that will open up a Chrome browser and run through that scenario. Then I'm going to delete all of that because I've read these before and I kind of know Cypress already, so I don't know. Shouldn't sound too cocky, I guess. But they do take up a lot of space for you. So it is loading. It's loading really slow.
So you create the application using a Cypress command.
I don't create the application, and I haven't created the app yet. I installed Cypress before I even write any implementation code.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. But anyway, so this is just an example thing, and you see there are things happening with this to-do application. It's just a dummy test. It's probably hosted somewhere online, example.cypressio. So this is what happens. Anyway, I don't want to run this or have them around, so I will actually just stop this, Command C out of this, open this up in my runner, in my IDE, and then är helt sjukt alltså. Det är för fan helt jävla sjukt. All right. That was not what I wanted. Did I make a complete fool of myself now? Oh my god, people. Why didn't you stop me? I forgot to CD into this damn thing.
Rip.
One of us.
I just like listening to you swearing in Swedish.
Jesus fucking Christ. What's wrong with me? Really? Come on. You can't do things like that. Thomas, come on. Okay. Oh, let's just... Oh, oof. What was it I called it? I call it E2e demo, right? And now we need to do...
It's so nice of you to take the pressure off us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. Well, oh my god. Right. Super.
So you'll need to install Cypress again.
Hopefully this will move much faster now, because it did install already the main components. Come on now, give me a break. Only 10,000 files. So it's funny how even the simplest Hello World application grows out of proportion for you. When you do things like this. But yeah, I really thank you. And so npx Cypress open.
So Thomas, just a question. My friend said he thinks they stopped using Enzyme for testing React and they're using React testing library.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking your opinion because I have no idea.
It depends, of course, who they are, but I can tell you that I stopped using Enzyme and I'm using testing React library nowadays. It's easier, more lightweight, easier to set up and start using. So I like that a lot.
Okay.
But Enzyme was good too, but I prefer the other.
Well, this is my introduction. So you're the chef, and we just say omakase.
I like that. I'm gonna give you my wife's phone number. You can say that to her. Thomas is the boss. She wouldn't believe you. But thank you for saying that.
Well, she'll need to join working with.
Oh God, no! Look, this is my sanctuary, people. I prefer not. Right. So we are here. It's been set up for us. We can close this. We can open this in our code editor, and hopefully this will not include all the different stuff. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of cleaning once we're done with this session today. In Cypress now there are a few subfolders, and the one that is interesting for us is the one that is called integration. And here we have two subfolders, one that is called getting started and the other one is advanced something. We can safely delete them. We don't need them for anything. Just don't delete the integration folder. That's where we're gonna place our tests. I will now, if I may, go into, come on, right, so I will go into my package.json and I will add a script here to start my server in, well, I'm gonna make it really easy for us all. So we're gonna say scripts I think I know why this is this. I think they like the companion, copilot is activated. Anyway, I'm going to say start, and that would be super static, and we're gonna super static the index in source, and then we're just gonna say Cypress, and that would be Cypress open. Right, and that's enough, right? So this will mean we can create a compound command that will start the server and run Cypress together. But for this demo, we can run this in two different terminals without any particular problems. And so in our integration folder, we want to create a very small test. Let's say, we always have to start with something small. So we can say user can see welcome message. User can see welcome message dot feature dot js. And so in here, we want to create a small test. So we use a describe block. And we can see that user that navigates to the application, and then in here we can say I can add an it block, and I usually have my IntelliSense work for me, but apparently nothing works today. Is expected to see a welcome message. For instance, like if we talk about hello world or whatever, right? So we can create a before block. Oh, now you start working. Thank you. Before block, and here we can say CI visit the root path, right? So we can say HTTP localhost 3000, or is it 3000? No, 3474 it is. Right. I think so. Well, we'll figure that one out soon. And then here we can say CI get, and let's start small. So let's use a selector. Let's not use the best practice to start with. So we're just going to say H1, and then we say should, and an assertion as a string. We say contain dot text as the first argument, and as the second argument the string that we are looking for, and we will say hello user, something like that, right? And so if I open up a new terminal and do yarn start, and I remember I don't have any implementation code whatsoever yet. I don't have an index HTML file or anything like that. We just want to see if this can start a server, and it does run on 3474. That's the super static default, so that's good. And if I now head over here and say yarn Cypress, this will of course fail for me because we don't even have an index page yet, right? And you know how I am. I like to at least pretend that I'm using test-driven development. So that's exactly what I will do in this case as well. If this ever wants to open for me. I constantly monitor my memory consumption, and I'm on 4 gigabytes of free memory. This shouldn't take so long. I don't understand what's going on, but it is what it is.
You need the M1.
Yeah. I'm gonna say that to my boss. Oh shit! I am my own boss. Damn it. And I don't know how to get about this. So now I'm gonna select this runner, this file, execute this file, this test file. We can see that there's a lot of happening in the background, and
Could it be because of streaming?
yeah, it's because I'm streaming and sharing the screen with you in this Google Meet. So that's what it is, you know. Anyway, look, failed. What does it say? Failed to load this something, right? Failed trying to load. Well, that's of course normal. We don't have to turn this off. I can go into the. I didn't create a source folder, so I need to create a source folder, and I need to in that folder create. That was a file, Thomas. Again, new folder, source, and in that source folder we're gonna create index HTML, and in that index HTML, we're gonna just do create a basic HTML file, and we're gonna rerun this. I'm gonna rerun this test, and it will fail because now he did load the HTML file, but it doesn't find an H1, right? It says expected H1 to contain text hello user, but the text was nothing. Couldn't even find an H1. I don't know. So let's add an H1 and say hello user with an exclamation mark. And now it goes green for me, right? Pedro.
Quick question. How did you initialize the folders for Cypress? Fixtures, integration, plugins, etc.
npx Cypress open.
Open. Okay. I just did the install one.
Right. So that was simple enough, right? And we use this method that they clearly tell us not to use because it's not the best practice. So we would have to say, in order to follow the best practices, we would say data-cy equals, for instance, header, and go over here and give this guy this attribute, data-cy equals header. And now this will pass again. There we go. Of course, right? Okay. What if we run a slightly more interesting test, but still very basic one? We can say I can add a new test file in this integration folder, and I can say user can fill out a, let's say, registration form .feature.js, right? And now you think, damn, is it writing so long test file names, right? But I actually like my file names for my tests to reflect what the test is all about. I despise cryptic files myself, and in my opinion, there is no reason why we can't use long file names now that we have the ability. We're not in Windows 1 anymore. So I don't mind that, actually. Go on, Pedro.
Yeah, would you say that you should, for instance, when working with React, keep the test file one per component, or you can have multiple ones?
Well, if we talk about component test, then one per component. But if you want to test, again, this is an end-to-end framework.
True.
So then I would test for functionality rather, right?
Got it.
Yeah. So let's write a little bit of test here. So describe, and here I can say user that fills in, fills out. Is it fill in or fill out? Fill out, I guess. I don't know. A registration form. And here I could say another describe with valid information or data or whatever. So here I would say it is expected to see a confirmation message. Confirmation message, right. User that fills out a registration form with valid information is expected to see a confirmation message, which is a very common use case, right? You fill in a form and you get something, thank you for filling out the form, right? So we could say in this it block, we could do something like ci.get data cy equal, we can call it confirmation message. Confirmation, not confirmation. Confirmation, Thomas. Right, confirmation message, and then we just say dot should contain text. Oh, damn it, Thomas, what are you doing? Contain text, and the second argument would be something like thank you for registering. Thank you for registering. Is that even the word? I don't know. Anyway, you catch the drift here, right? So, but before that happens, we need to actually have the user fill out this form, right? So you remember I talked about that. You want to set up the test, and then you want to interact with the application, and then you want to assert, right? So this it block, that would be the assertion, right? And so in setup, we want to visit the application itself, right? That would be the setup part. So we can do something like we did before: ci visit localhost or HTTP localhost 3474, right? Okay, that would be the setup. The interaction would be having the user fill out the form. So we can say, we can write this in many different ways, but let's say, just for the sake of this demo, that we do ci.get data cy equals registration form. Registration form. And then in that form, so we can use within, and within that form, that would be a callback, so we need to add a new function here. We want to say ci.get data cy equal, and I'm actually going to copy this one now so I don't have to repeat this. Here I want to say, no, oh Jesus, I copied. Okay, so it's first of all, it needs to have hard brackets, like this, and here that is in name, or we can just say email, and here I want to say type Thomas at email.com, and then I want to say data get ci password, and here I want to type for instance just password or my password or whatever, and then we want to get this submit button, for instance, and we just want to click on it. Right. Okay, so if this happens, then the user should see thank you for registering one way or another. Does that make sense? Have you fallen asleep yet? No? Okay, good. All right. So if I now say that we want to run this, none of this will happen, right? Because we don't have any fields or anything to interact with. So this will not work. Right. What? HTTP localhost 34. Oh, it's 73. I said, did I say 73? You shouldn't make typos, right? So it should be 74. Nothing exists on 73. Right. Right. He's trying to look for registration form, doesn't find it. All right. And now it's time for us to start building the damn thing, right? So we go over to the index.html. Right. We're gonna check my my memory again. Okay, so here we want to add a form, and the form will not have any action on it because we don't care about it, but it will have a data CY, and we will say registration, and inside of that form we want to say input text, for instance, and that would not have any name or ID, but rather data CY, and that would be email, right? That's what we said, email. And then we will have another input, and again this will have a data CY that is called password, and then we will have input submit, and it will say submit, but we will have a data CY on this one that is called also submit. Sorry. Hold on a second. Yeah. Right. Okay. So let's see if we can run this. Oh, it was called registration form. Sorry. Let's run it again.
I believe you also have a typo there.
Do I? Registry. Oh God. There we go. There's something in my throat. Right. Okay, so it did fill in. It did fill in the whole thing, right? But a form. Well, I don't have a Coke. Oh, hold on a second. I need to get something to drink. I'll be right back.
Whiskey time.
Whiskey time.
By the way, I think that's correct, right? You can use type email and type password in your inputs, and it would not show the password automatically.
Sounds like a better alternative, yeah.
I was hoping for a scotch, but that didn't happen.
Thomas, I was just asking, you could use type password, right, in the password so it doesn't show up.
Yep.
Yeah. I wasn't sure.
Right, it's much better. Okay, so by default, form in HTML it always reloads the page. We inherited this from the old way of doing things in HTML. Nowadays, most of the things are happening in the background. But back in the days when the form specification was made, it always reloaded things. We need to prevent that guy from doing that. And I'm going to write a little bit of vanilla JavaScript. I'm not very good at it, so bear with me. But what I will do is I'm going to find the form. So I'm going to say const form equals document get element by what can I do? Get element by name? No, by tag name, right? Is it tag name? I think it's tag name, right? I think that I can do that. No. I'm actually gonna give it an ID. Actually gonna give it an ID, which is really bad, but R form. Hate these kind of things. Right, so we're gonna do get element by ID, and we're gonna just ask for R form. So now that we have that, we can just say form add event listener, and the event we will be looking for is submit, and then we will have a callback here, and here I will say first of all event prevent default. So we want to prevent this guy from submitting, from reloading the page, right? So event prevent default just tells it don't do whatever you've been taught to do. The only thing we need to do, we will not send anything off to any backend or anything. This is just a demo, but I will make sure that we have some sort of a div with a data CY with an ID. We probably need to give it an ID for the JavaScript purpose. So we will say message, and we also want to give it a data CY for testing, and the data, yeah, we want to call it confirmation message. So actually I can use that here, confirmation message. And so I'm just gonna say const message node or element or whatever equals document get element by ID, and I will just get this confirmation message here. And if we are submitting this, then I will just say that message node inner text or inner HTML equals something like H2, for instance. And what was it we were supposed to say? Thank you for registering. Okay, sure. So we're not actually going to do anything here, but write the minimum amount of code to display this particular message here. So let's run this again. Yep, and that works now, right? Because we are living up to all the requirements of the test. Now we're gonna actually write just quickly another scenario, because this is the dummy scenario for the happy path, for it actually, doing what it's supposed to do. And somewhere here, here we would set, now if this was a real application, so send the credentials to I don't know, API or whatever we want to do with this, and wait for the result. And if the results come back, okay, we just thank the guy for registering. But we're not concerned with this at this point, because again we're just making a demo of this testing. But this would be the happy path, like if the user actually provides a valid email and a valid password, right? But what if the user does something stupid? So we can add another describe block, and we can say with invalid information, right? And so we could say something like in this, again, with this setup, we still gonna visit this site. So that's the same thing. And then I'm gonna actually copy this, but I will not fill in anything here, right? I will omit this kind of the email address, right? So here we can say something like forgot the before block. Sorry, before. Come on. Why not? Give it to me. Give it to me, baby. Nope. It does. Sometimes it doesn't want to do that. So we need to move all of this into the before block, right? We want, where did we go wrong? Oh, did I miss this? No, come on. What the fuck happened now? I have one too many here, right? Right. Okay. All right, here we go. Right. So here we could say something like it is expected to see an error message, for instance, right? And so we could say that the confirmation message would not contain text, but rather it should contain this text, thank you for registering, but rather you need to fill in your email address or something, right? And so if we run this now, the first spec will pass, but the other one will fail because we don't have a handler for this. And I just gonna quickly write it up so we can get this one to pass, but you probably get the drift already. It's very simple. The only thing we are looking for here is to say, I mean, there's many ways to do this, but we could do if form children, if children email, you can do length or whatever, but if we do value equals an empty string, then we say that message node inner HTML equal, and then we say h2. What was it? It was supposed to say you need to provide your email address, like this. Perhaps not h1, h2 is better. I don't know. And then else, like this, and just move this in here. Right, let's format our code. Cancel. No, you don't want to format my code. What are you talking about? There are multiple I know that there are some multiple formatters. So where's my formatter? Okay. Yeah, so this should, in principle, No, nothing works. Value of undefined email children. What? Oh, yeah, right. Oh, fuck. I need to give it a name. And now it's becoming a lot of nonsense. Not name, but email. Email. Right. Too much nonsense code. Right. Now it passes. Right. So the problem with this now is, of course, that we should write another uh, um, we should write another test for a missing password, or perhaps a password confirmation, or what have you, right? But the thing is that you don't necessarily need to test every single case, which is an art in itself to decide how much tests do you need to test, to make sure that your application does what it is supposed to do, right? And everything that is of value should be tested. You don't have to test for every single attribute or every single element to be visible or what have you. But this very simple, it's a very simple test shows you if the logic is there, and or if you have built this logic yourself, or if somebody else has built and you are testing afterwards, that it actually does what it is supposed to do. And again, we don't really care of what, how we come up with this result. Like, thank you for registering. The only thing we care about is that it actually does it or not, and the underlying functionality to actually make sure that this user can be registered. This logic should be placed or should be tested using unit tests and not acceptance tests. The only type of logic we're trying to place here is to validate that the input fields are actually filled with something or not. Does that make sense, people? Kind of. And there is, of course, so much more we can do with acceptance tests. And just to show you one small project, there it is. With a very, it's not a big app, it's a single page application that allows visitors to fill in a form with a little bit of data regarding what sort of offices they are interested in renting. It's an office broker that ordered this application from us at some point. And if we look at the integration tests, we have, for instance, this user can send an inquiry, which is a very similar use case as the one we just did, because we are sending off a form here, right? So it's a slightly bigger test, but it's not that super big. We are doing a little bit of interception because here we are actually looking at sending something off from the application, and then we're basically just interacting with it, making a lot of assertions and clicking around, filling in some data, and making sure that that along the way everything works and so on. And there are some things here that we haven't covered, like for instance, we are making sure that the application is making requests in the background. We are also using an external library here for displaying values in a selector. And here we needed to move away from our own way to find elements, and had to use the one that was scaffolded for us. It's a component that we pulled in into this library. So it was it was a bit harder to interact with those elements, but we worked our way through this, and so on. Right. So these tests can grow a little bit, and become more complex. But overall, Cypress is a pretty simple and easy framework to work with. And I think that's what I had for you guys. Questions? No questions. That's all crystal. Fantastic. I will push this up. I would of course encourage you to write a few simple tests with Cypress, because we all have to start with something when we start to use this kind of tools. And I think that the challenge of the project that we will be working on initially will be that there is so much map functionality that we will be that this application relies on maps a lot, and testing Google Maps is not impossible in any way, but it's kind of hard. And that's because why is it hard? Well, because the Google Map API creates so many nodes on our UI. So finding them and having something to work with is kind of hard. Like, if there is a marker, is that marker actually in the right place, for instance, and does it contain the right data and so on? So it is not super easy, but there is a lot of other functionality in that application of ours that that is very well suited for Cypress tests. And again, if we use blockchain technologies, we are up for a treat, because that will be a bit harder, but nothing is impossible, people. Any comments? Did you guys learn anything today? You're still muted, Anya. Or is it me? Now I don't hear anyone. What the fuck? Really? Jesus Christ. I don't get it. Now my desktop, everything is off. The fuck? No? No, no, no. I don't know if oh gosh. Can the people on Twitch hear me? Yeah. But they can't hear anything from you guys. And I can't hear anything from you guys. That's really interesting. No, but come on. Now I'm really confused, because now this guy is really acting up. What? Hold on a second. Can somebody say something? Yeah, you can, but oh, no. All right, guys, it's really not my day. I really don't know what the F is going on. What?
Yeah, get some cola, get some cola.
Yeah, but I was gonna say,
Yeah,
I will be
go
redoing
ahead.
it tomorrow morning. What, Mike?
Yeah, I might
Yeah,
also.
I was thinking how. Yeah, go ahead, JD.
Yeah, go on, Mike. Or not. I said yeah,
Just
we're too polite.
I think Mike
So,
Mike is trying, but
as simple as practice. So am I not audible right now? Can't hear me.
Not really. No. All right. I'm gonna give the word to Kastras. You wanted to say something. Let's go with you now.
No, I was just gonna say I will be doing this all over again tomorrow. Yeah, also watching this video, and I think I have 2 videos left, prior sessions, 2 or 3.
Good stuff.
So I hope to be up to date this weekend.
I just have a question with the project, I guess. Did you manage to find an appointment, or do you know how far we are as I mean in terms of having a clean start with the project, or open source version, or
So as I said in the beginning, I haven't really looked through everything, super thoroughly, but we are looking at doing something tomorrow, but probably more in this weekend than anything else. I don't think I will. It's all about synchronizing Tesla and me and others, and so we can get into that.
yeah, sure.
But now that we are on the subject, Mirsad, one of the reasons, apart from you being an awesome guy and probably a great resource in many different areas, we are looking into one project that are using Firebase at this point, right? And I don't know, but I think that the reason for choosing Firebase in this project was because it was the lowest hanging fruit. It was the easiest way to go about to add some backend functionality. And there are questions in regard to scalability, cost, performance, usage, and so on, that there's a lot of uncertainty whether we should or should not go with Firebase, or if we should use some other solution. We are also looking to add a bit of blockchain technology in terms of even cloud-based services and smart contracts and etc. And so my question to you would be, does anything of this make sense? And B, can you be of assistance in any way, Mirsad? If Mirsad is still around, by the way. Perhaps he's not.
Maybe he's still on the phone.
Oh, he took a phone call. Okay. Well, we're gonna hope that
He will answer you when he has watched the what.
Yes, he will come back. Mikey was asking how about a small class project for this instead of the blockchain. Well, we kind of committed to this
So
project
I don't
now.
know if you can hear me now.
We can now, yeah. Go ahead.
You can hear me? Okay, nice. So I was like, so this, okay, the blockchain project, we are committed to it, but probably a small hackathon, not instead, I didn't mean instead, but I meant like maybe a small practice project. For instance, maybe just a sign up form for people signing up on Work the Web, and we do that collaboratively on maybe one weekend session. And
I'm definitely
yeah.
for it. The learning Cyprus is a good thing. By the way, people, Cyprus is spreading across the industry. So if you know Cyprus and if you want to work professionally, that's a very good skill. And as a side note, I can tell you that I've had students at Craft Academy that has gotten jobs not because they are great programmers, but because they know Agile and testing, and the hiring agents were like, it doesn't matter if you're not a good, if you're very productive in terms of writing implementation code. If you can help us implement a good testing strategy, you're hired. And then they got great jobs for that. So again, Cyprus is important. I could say if we do something out of the ordinary, or spend a Saturday or Sunday session to do a specific hackathon that deals with a specific topic, Cyprus would be a good candidate. But also, Pedro did send a resource yesterday in Slack that I enjoyed.
Yeah, I loved reading through that. That was a wonderful read.
Yeah, and I think that this is also a good candidate for a discussion session, like when we really go over things and talk about it, like step by step, like read this thing together from top to bottom. Let's see, where is that? That's here.
And I found it really interesting as well, Thomas, because I believe that there's space, a lot of space for refactoring in the project we're going to work in.
Yeah.
And many of the things that we see here can be applied.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that they cover a lot of ground in this article, and I agree with most of the things. I don't necessarily agree with everything, which in itself could be an interesting discussion. What sort of things are good. We could cherry pick the good, the bad, and the interesting and less interesting stuff. And this could definitely be a good discussion topic. So we don't necessarily have to do it this weekend. We can do it next or something. We can do a Cyprus session with that is more that goes more in depth on Cyprus. And there is always a danger in doing too many tutorials or talks. I think that the best way to learn about Cyprus and the best way to use it will be in the project itself, because it's a legacy code that needs to be covered in tests. So that's a good way of starting. And then never forget that Cypress and other testing tools are good to use as TDD, which means that you actually follow the TDD process. You write the test first and implementation later. But here we can combine both of them, right? We can test afterwards and test beforehand, right? And I think that once we start to do that, we start to look at the legacy code that yes needs a lot of refactoring. Then this resource would be a really, really good starting point for a lot of discussions. So if nothing else, I would definitely encourage all of you to give this a good read, take notes. If there's things you don't understand, and there will be probably, don't worry about it. We will have an in-depth discussion about all of this one way or another. So that was a great find there, Pedro. I like this a lot, actually.
Yeah, it was on the Reddit. So I found it there.
Good stuff. I Reddit stresses the shit out of me. I don't read Reddit. I don't know why. Never liked it. But apparently there are good resources there. The hook abuse, I like this one, right? But anyway, there's a lot of stuff here that I enjoy. So I learned a few things, actually. Mike, do you have an application that would benefit from being tested with Cypress? Do you have any ideas for any app that exists already?
Yeah, I think the one for Tuliso, is it self? I think it's a good candidate since it's code that already exists.
Which one you said?
Did we call it self? The one for Tuliso?
Yeah, Zen from Tassilo.
Oh, okay,
Zen,
okay, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good candidate.
Yeah. So let's
so
as soon as we get it open sourced, right? And again, that will be done soon. We should definitely do a session where we test this through.
I could have a candidate, even though it's not really part of the Agile venture right now. That would be and not web development per se, but you could test the Pomodoro bot.
And that was interacting with Discord, or what was that?
Interacting with Discord, yeah.
Right. That's actually perhaps not the best idea, I'm sorry to say, because but it could be a good idea. But I am not sure. I would have to look at it, because if we so basically what
the code is not great either. So
oh, well, that's beside the point. That's not don't beat yourself down, my brother. But what we are looking at, we're using webhooks on this one, or how do you communicate with Discord?
We have a client. There's a client for Discord. You download the package from npm in this case, and it basically connects with events. You define event listeners.
Okay. Then you can definitely. Is there an interface? I mean, do you how do you start the timer and so on? Is there a web interface?
Not web. It's through the Discord's reactions.
Okay. Then it can.
So I don't think Cypress can interact with the Discord itself. So
I can. No, it cannot probably.
No.
No. Well, I can interact with anything because I know how to use Puppeteer in Cypress. But that's a Pandora's box. I think that will be. If there was a web interface, then we could definitely test for it. But
all right, well, it's just an idea. Maybe some other time when people are more experienced.
But for unit testing, I would definitely want to take. I know that you mentioned this at some point back in the days when we started to talk about work the web. I would love to see that code base, and perhaps we can collaborate on setting this up for some mock-up, for some unit testing. Actually, that would be really interesting. Yep. Guys, we're gonna quit on 2 hours, so we have 13 minutes left. Tops. There's no shame in quitting earlier, actually.
Yeah, I've drunk nearly 2 liters of Coke, so I really need to pee.
All right.
Logistics.
So I'm going to say thank you for the session.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Castras.
Yeah. Thank you.
Guys, I'm going to send out the recording. Anya, if you stream tomorrow, I'll drop by. And if you guys go through these setting up Cypress, it doesn't matter that it's a very trivial and nonsense application. We have to learn to crawl before we can walk. And then after that, the sky is the limit. So just work your way through those simple tests. There is a little bit of configuration that needs to be set up. It can be problematic. It shouldn't be, but it can be, as everything else in life. So start small and go big later. Thank you very much for today, guys.
Thank you.
And Mirsad is still on the phone. Mirsad is still on the phone, so we won't get any.
That's fine. I guess it's best if we catch up on the weekend with
Absolutely.
him anyway.
But again, don't be afraid to use Slack, and I know that he monitors Slack a lot. So if we ask a question, he will answer. No problems. Okay, thank you very much, people. Sorry about the sound issues and the slow computer. I will throw it out the window now and get myself an M1 computer or whatever it's called. Love you guys. See ya.
See ya. Bye.
See ya. Cheers. And Twitch. Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
and I see you next time. This weekend we have 2 sessions, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. That's 5:30 UTC PM, but also starting around 6 o'clock AM UTC, I will be online doing a little bit of coding on various things. So if you want to catch me then, catch me then. And if not,